All right, as we know, one of the most honorable things that we can do, and when we come to the Holy One of Israel, is we can bless his name, and we can bless the Torah, because the Torah is what Yah has given to us. The Torah is like a light. It's a light to us. You know, the commandment is a lamp. The Torah is the light of that lamp. You know, without the Torah, we wouldn't know what to do. We wouldn't know where to go. We wouldn't know we wouldn't understand how to be directed into this what Yah wants us to do. We would never know. We would have no clue, no understanding. When we were reading in the New Testament, we never, ever, ever had Yah's name declared to us. Never. Shabbat Shalom, Chini. Never, 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 never. We never had it. So I want to open up with a blessing of the Torah. Berakutet Yahweh Hamvura. Baruch Yahweh the Hamvura Talalam Wae. Baruch Atah Yahweh Eloheinu Melech Halam Asher Bekol Benu Demekol Hamamayim Dewe Nathan Lenu Diet the Torah to the Baruch Atah Yahweh Donothan the HaTorah. I said Baruch Atah Yahweh Eloheinu Melech Halam O Asher Nathan Lenu the Torah that he made, they were Kaye Olam, they didn't time but Thokinu, they Baruch Atah Yahweh, the Nothan, the HaTorah. I said, blessed is Yahweh, the blessed one, oh, blessed is Yahweh, blessed is Yahweh for all eternity. Blessed are you, Yahweh, for all eternity. You're the King of the universe who selected us from all the peoples, and you gave us his Torah. Blessed are you, Yahweh. You're the giver of the Torah, yeah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the giver of the Torah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the King of the universe. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the one who implanted eternal life within us. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the giver of the Torah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the God of Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the giver of life. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the giver of salvation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, who gives us food to eat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, who protects us at night. Blessed are you, Yahweh, who gives us light. Blessed are you, Yahweh, who teaches us the right way. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Praise be to the Holy One of Israel. Praise be to the one who's exalted above the heavens. Praise be to the Holy One who's created the heavens and the earth. Praise be to the Holy One who's given life to all living things. Praise be to the Holy One, the Elohim of Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise be to the Holy One of Israel. Now, some of you might ask yourself, why did he start singing this? He never has done this before. So what is it? Well, here it is. I'm discovering in my teachings and in my study is that Yah loves praise. He loves us to praise him. He wants us to thank him for all that he's done for us. Yah has done so much for us as his people. He's done so much for us by revealing his truth to us. He never had to do that. He didn't have to. He doesn't owe us anything. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. The creator of the heavens and the earth don't owe us anything. Everything that he's doing is because he swore a promise to Abraham, and he passed that promise on to Yitzchak, and he passed that promise on to Yaakov. That's the reason why. If you think about it, Moshe said, please don't destroy them for making the image of that God, of that golden calf and worshiping. And he took 40 days. He went back up to the mountain and he begged Yah. He begged him for 40 days and 40 nights, just like the first time that he went up there. And so Moshe was going back and forth up the mountain, and he was really trying to reconcile this relationship between us and the creator. And Yah had ended it. He says, Just remember Abraham. Remember the promise you made to Abraham. Remember the promise that you made to Yitzchak. Remember that promise. And so when he made those promises, Yah is keeping his word. So today, I want to go briefly over what we talked about in our Torah portion. There were so many areas that we learned this week. This whole week, we've been dealing with the judgment of Yah. We've been dealing how Yah says that Israel is supposed to choose judges. Israel's supposed to assign officers, like Malachi. He's an officer and he's in charge of a group of people. And he's supposed to maintain those people, and he's supposed to be just in his officiating and his judgment, meaning that his eyes can't be able to take a bribe. He can't let what a person's face look like get him to get off of what's just and what has been written. Just like I'm using him as an example because my son is a probation officer at the juvenile detention center, and even in there, you can't make friends. You could treat everybody fairly, but you can't take a bribe, and you can't care about what their face look like. If they violate it, they violate it. And as a result of that violation, there's actions and judgments that have to take place. And as I've been stating all this week, that we're a people of judgment. And Yah has chosen Israel to be the chief of the nations. And I want to begin by going somewhere in the Torah for us to look at, so we can establish this understanding of why Yah has done what he's done and why is he choosing Israel as the people to be his judges, okay? So in the book of Genesis, and we're going to go there, and we're going to go to chapter number 18. And this has to do with judgment because that's our theme. Our theme is about judgment, okay? So in the book of Genesis, chapter number 18, we're going to read a brief little story about Sodom and Gomorrah, okay? It says, and Yahweh appeared to Avram by the oaks of Mamre, and he sat at the entrance of the tent during the heat of the day. And he raised his eyes and he looked, and in front of him stood 3 men. And on seeing them, he ran to the tent door to meet them, and he prostrated himself on the ground, okay? There's nothing religious about this. This is just what it was. It's written by Moshe to tell us this in particular story. And you might ask, well, why? And he's about to tell us why. And said, my master, if I have found favor in your sight, please don't leave your servant. Please let me send for some water so that you can wash your feet and rest under the tree. And again, in that culture, the Hebraic culture is about hospitality. So Abraham is doing that, which Yah is asking Israel to always be, is to be very hospitable. We got to be a certain type of people, okay? And we're going to learn more about that today, okay? And he said, I will bring a piece of bread now that you have come to your servant, refresh yourselves before going on. He said, very well. And they replied, do what you have said. So Abraham hurried into the tent, and Sarah, and then he quickly, he said, quickly, 3 measures of the best flour, kneaded and made cakes. And Avram ran to the herd, and he took out a good tender calf, and he gave it to the servant who hurried and prepared it. Hospitality. Then he took the curds and the milk and the calf, which they had prepared, and set it before the men, and he stood by them under the tree as they ate. They said to him, where is Sarah, your wife? And he said, there in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return to you around this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. And Sarah heard him from the entrance of the tent behind him. And so Abraham and Sarah were old and advanced in years, and so Sarah was past her age of childbearing. So she laughed. She laughed to herself, thinking, I am old, and so is my master, my Lord. Am I to have pleasure again? Okay, so she's saying intimacy is far from us. We haven't had this, this thing going on. But now Yah's saying this is what you're going to do, because she understood that the only way to bring forth the baby to the earth is not by a spirit hovering over you and then he impregnating you. It actually takes a man going in and being with his wife that creates a child. Okay, so that's why she laughed. She didn't make this in the spiritual. And so Yahweh said to Avram, why did Sarah laugh? Ask, am I really going to bear a child when I'm so old? Is anything too hard for Yahweh? And at the time said, at this season next year, I will return to you and Sarah will have a son. So this whole discussion that we're reading right now and this conversation is about Yah coming to Abraham to reaffirm what he already told him. You're going to have a son. So he's back to tell him again, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. And so Sarah denied it, saying, I didn't either laugh, right? Either laugh, because she was afraid. He said, no, not so. You did laugh. And by the way, the name of their child is Yitzchak, and his name means laughter. So not only did she laugh, but prior to this, Abraham laughed himself when Yah told him about the promise. He laughed as well. So both of them laughed. A lot of people think it was just Sarah that laughed. Abraham laughed as well. So both Abraham and Sarah, they both laughed. And so because they thought, hey, this is why would you laugh? Because you're thinking this is hilarious. Like, what? Are you kidding? So that hit their soul. Like this is impossible. This is like an impossibility. We're old, right? And so the men set out there and looked, and number one, she couldn't have a child as well. So the men looked out from there and looked over Sodom and Gomorrah, and Avram went with them to see them on their way. Now, here's the part of the story I want to tell you about. So Yahweh said, should I hide from Abraham what I intend or what I'm about to do? That's the question. Inasmuch as Abraham is sure to become a great and strong nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by him. This is the question Yah asked. Should I hide from him what I'm about to do? Okay, that's the question. Verse 19, and he's going to tell you the reason why he's going to not hide it. Verse 19 says, for I have made myself known to him. I revealed myself to him. Him and I have a relationship, okay? So that he will give orders, which are commands, to his children and his household after him to keep the way. That means to guard the way of Yahweh and to do what is right and just, okay? So that Yahweh may bring about for Abraham what he had promised him. I'm almost 100% certain, but I want to verify. When it talks about to do what is right and just, okay, I believe that word there being used is called zedek, okay? So we're going to go find it right quick so I can tell you what that means, okay? Zedek means righteousness, and it's in chapter number 18, verse number 19. You're going to get your Hebrew right here. So as you guys know, always go and I reference. I just don't take these English words because once you take the English words, you kind of buy into what they're saying. You kind of go along with what they're saying. You can't do that. You have to look at the original text. And that's what I'm trying to show you, that we always have to verify and what's being said, have to authenticate it. We just can't accept it. Okay. So, and you have to look at the verb tense of it. So let's see here, verse number 19. It says, for I have known him. Okay. Yada thi. Okay. I know him. This word here is yada, and yada means to know, means intimately. Okay. I made a relationship with him. Right. Yada thi, so that which I have commanded, because that's what it is a yetzawa, his children, he will command his children. This is what Abraham is going to do, which every father has a responsibility to do, is to command your children in his household, his Betho, in his house, okay, after him. That means not, listen to me carefully. This right word here means akadra, means after him, okay? Akar means after, and him, after him. So when he's talking about, if we're part of the family of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and the promises of Yah have been made to Abraham, you and I have to understand that we have to follow after, okay? That word right there, akar, means the hinder part, or to be from behind, or the following part. They use the same word, okay? They use the same word, akar, okay, to actually mean in the last days. It means something that's after, okay? So the purpose of Yah talking to Abraham, okay, is to give them, and they use it for akarith. Let me see. Judges, they just talk about how it's being used. Don't delay, no delay, okay? In the time to come, okay? That's what it means. A card, to be in a latter time. Pull it up. A car. 1,000. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Yakar. Ashe. Ak. Here we go. Scrolling. It's down here. Aleph and the Ket. I'm getting closer. Okay, here you go. Where's the resh? It's a child root. Adopted root. Let me see. Guys, be patient with me for just a second. I got to get it out of the book here. I feel led to show it to you, so I have to. Car. Look. I have a hard time finding car. CH. I have to find this. I can't find it right now in the Hebrew lexicon. At any rate, it means to be in the future. I'll find it later and I'll get it for us. Okay. So going back to what he's talking about, if you and I are going to follow after Abraham's way, we have to follow the commandment that Yah gave Abraham. That commandment that he gave Abraham has been going on from generation to generation. Some would say, well, he never gave us the Torah. So are you saying that we should follow what Abraham says versus what Moshe says? The idea behind the Torah is to solidify the promise that Yah made to our fathers. Yah has decided to use the commandments of the Torah to bring us together with our fathers, what he swore to our fathers. Okay. So, and I'll be able to show that to you shortly. So at any rate, what he's saying is that I want you to teach your children. He's going to teach his children. He's talking. He's going to teach his children after him to shamaru, that they will keep the direct of Yahweh, the path. In in Deuteronomy chapter number 13, Yah says that you need to be careful of people who will come and try to get you off of the way. There's a path. This is called Dorek. It's called a road or a path. There's a path that Yah has prescribed for his people, okay? And you and I are to follow this path. I keep using my children as examples. I put my son on a course and said, Malachi, this is the way that I want you to do things. And the moment that Malachi goes outside of that, then if out of what I said, then that means that he has gone out of my way. And then if I'm teaching him something, he doesn't teach it on to his son and pass on that path, then he's teaching his son something totally different. And that's where we have the problem. So what happened over time is that our ancestors, okay, all of us online, our ancestors turned around and decided not to follow the path of Yahweh. They have actually gotten off the path of Yahweh, okay? They have left what Yahweh has said, everything that he taught them. But he says that he's going to teach his descendants after him to guard, not just to keep, again, shamar, to guard this. This is what you and I are commanded to guard. He's going to command them to guard this. You're going to guard this right here, the path of Yahweh, the ways of Yahweh, okay? Yahweh is our shepherd. So he teaches us which way to go. And not only are you're going to teach them that, but they're going to la asot. They're going to do, this means to do, okay? And guess what? It's in an infinitive, meaning always. Infinity means always. It's always. Just like your eyes, you have eyes, they always see as long as they don't get blinded, and they always blink every day. That's infinitive. As long as they're a human being, they walk. That's always, as long as they're breathing. So infinitive means that you're, as long as you exist until a point where you cease to exist. So as long as they're existing on the face of this earth, they are to always be doing what they have been taught, and they are going to do what is right. Right here is Zedek. Okay. They got the word Zadakah, and Zadakah, okay, means something. Righteousness for us means more than just the idea of saying that's righteous. So how could you define righteousness? With your eyes, or with your ears, or with your mouth, or with your nose. If Yah told us that this language is based upon that which can be seen, smell, taste, touch, hearing, all that, we have to use our senses when we're talking about things. We can't just be making up abstract terms, because a way that a Christian believes that something is righteous is completely different than what a Hebrew thinks is righteous. What the way the Hebrew people thought was right is different than what the other people in the nations thought was right. That's why some of our people have a hard time when Yah says, go in there and kill everybody, because they don't see that as being right. That's why the Hebrew people had a hard time when Yah says, take the firstborn of your sheep and your oxen and bring it to me without blemish or nothing, and put it to death and slit its throat and pour its blood on the altar. They didn't understand it. They thought that was wrong. They didn't want to do it. And that's in the book of Malachi. Okay. So why is Yah telling us this? Because you need to understand what righteousness is. Okay. Righteousness, again, is not an abstract term. Righteousness has to do with something that I'm about to show you. The word righteousness comes from this root. Can you all see my screen? It's from Zod, okay? And Zod means to ambush. It means to hunt. It means to pursue. It means to chase. And it means your desire. I use this kitty cat right here because I want you to look into his eyes, okay? I really want you to look into his eyes. I want you to focus on this picture. I'm not trying to do psychology on you, but I am trying to get you to see something. I need you to look at his eyes. I need you to really look at what he's look at his eyes. Look at him. What does he look like? What's his intention? What is its intention? What do you see? Talk to me. What do you see in the eyes of this predator?
He's focused.
He is 100% focused. Thank you. I love that. He's focused. Look at his eyes. He's focused. His eyes are set on something. Look how they're just piercing. Are they moving all over the place? Or have you ever, does this cat look like he's trying to, he's indecisive, or does he say like he's really like pondering and thinking about what he's going to do? You understand? What does his body language look like? Look at his paws, look at his body, look at his arms and his shoulders and his ears. Look where he's at. You see, he's crouched. He looks like he's on a hunt. Okay. The word Zod from Zadik comes from this word Zod. It means to hunt. You understand? It means to hunt. Focus, determined, to go after something. Yah is asking you and I, if you and I are saying that we're righteous or we want to even take upon ourselves, you and I have to go on like a pursuit and a hunt and chase after Yah. We have to hunt. You have to hunt. You cannot say you're righteous and yet you're not pursuing Yahweh. You're not pursuing righteousness. You're not pursuing that which is right. You're not chasing after it. Akib Bessett said something to me. I won't share it, but he asked me, what do you think about this? He said, I did something. I felt like what these people are doing was wrong. What's your opinion? I said, what you did was absolutely right. It's called Zadik, okay? From Zod. You and I have to be in a mindset of pursuit and chasing after what is right. And we cannot decide for ourselves what is right. We have to go off what Yah says is right. Regardless to what was said, we have to acknowledge what he said is right. If he says, if you and I go with the judgments of what he said, and we agree with him, when we get in agreement with him, you and I are in agreements with him, that means that we are in pursuit of what he's after. Everything that Israel is going through right now is only for the purpose to make us into a great nation. Yah says, remember what he just said to Abraham, considering, should I not let him know what my intentions are, considering I'll make him a great nation? Abraham did not get a chance to see that great nation, did he? He didn't. The great nation is the people that are on Zoom right now. the people that just read those words. Yah had Moshe write those words to give us an insight into what was the basis of the relationship. What connects us to our Elohim? What connects us to our Elohim is that we need fathers and mothers, people in our community, to be in hunting and pursuit mode, like this cat right here, to go after what Yah says. If you are hanging around people that are not thinking these things, then you won't achieve your goal. You're not going to achieve your goal. If your eyes are not piercing and they're focused on what he said, and have an object or a goal, what is the goal? What is the goal? What is our goal? Somebody tell me. What do you think the goal is? It's not a right or wrong answer. What is it?
For me, it's to know Yahweh
It's
and have
to
a
know
relationship with him.
and have a relationship with him. And not only does he not want, remember he says, I know him. I know Avram. I have a relationship. Yada. Yada means to know. Yada. Y-A-D-A. Yada. A Hebrew word for you today is to know. Okay. Yada. Yada. Do you know him? Are you intimate with him? He says, you're the only family that I know. Yada. I know your family. So this doesn't just have to do with us. It has to do where did it start? It started with our father, Abraham. That's where this all started. The goal is to know Yahweh's ways. When you yada, Yah, woo, look at that. When you yada, Yah, when you know Yah, yada, Yah, say it, yada, Yah, yada, Yah, when you yada, Yah, when you know Yah, yada, Yah. If you guys, anybody want to name their children that, you can, yada, Yah. When you got yada, Yah, that means to know Yah. That means that you are definitely in hunting, pursuit, and chasing the desire of Yahweh's ways. Because hunting and pursuit and all these things, if you could see, what is this cat on right now? What is this cat laying on? What is he on? Right here. He's on a path. In order for this predator to get to its target, it has to choose a path. It has to choose a plan of attack. In order for us to get to where Yah wants us to get, you and I got to stay on the path in order to hit the goal. We have to be in ambush mode, attack mode. So ask yourself the question. These are questions that you need to ask. Am I a hunter? Am I hunting? You know, when I was in a real estate game, I was the #1 salesperson for loans out of my building. I'm not trying to brag or boast. And the reason why I was successful was simply because I read something that says, I'm a hunter. I'm not a gatherer. I hunt. Okay. And hunting means that you go after something. You and I have to hunt and chase after what Yah is pleasing to him. Are you in pursuit? Are you pursuing Yah's ways? And how do you pursue those ways? How do you pursue them? You do it through study. You do it through reading. You do it through prayer. You do it through actual experience. You have situations and people in your life that Yah placed in your life so you can learn how to execute righteousness. Because there's always going to be a situation. For example, in our Torah lesson this week, it has several examples about what can happen. I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to tell you what it is. You should have read it. It says that if you found somebody that was dead in the land and you came across someone who was dead and they were stabbed to death, because that's how they died. Okay. They would have to find out what city is the closest to the dead body? What city is the closest to it? So they would grab the elders and they would grab the priest, and they would come out from all these cities and say, well, who's this dead body closer to? Oh, he's closer to our city. Then that city would have to go and get a heifer, a young eglah, a cow, and bring her out. She's never had a ox on her, a yoke on her neck. She's never used any for plowing. And then they had to take her by a river, and that part of the land that they bring her to could never been plowed or sown. And they bring her there and they break her neck. They break the neck of this calf. They snap her neck. Okay. And after they snap her neck, They washed their hands over her body and they declared that we did not shed innocent blood. Okay. Why did Yah give us this example in this teaching this week? It's simply because things happen and you always have to be prepared to make judgment. Okay. There's judgments, and when you're at war, when you go approach a city, you offer them peace. And he's not talking about the cities that he wanted them to go in and kill everybody. He said, if you ever guys got in a situation where you're at war, you know, you go there, you offer them peace first. You offer shalom. They don't accept the shalom. You go in and you kill every one of the males, and you leave the females and their little ones alive. Just the females. You kill all the males. Okay. You get rid of their posterity. Why? Because they refuse. They took the judgment to say that they didn't want peace. Then he also says, when you go into the cities I'm sending you, I need you to go in and kill everybody and everything that I devoted to destruction. There's some things that are devoted to destruction. There's some things that Yahweh says, I'm going to exterminate them. And he says, I commanded you to exterminate them. Why? Because Yah wants us to execute righteousness. Okay? He wants us to execute righteousness, because those people that were living there, okay, the cities in which he told them, the Yavusi, the Ka'anini, the Imri, the Kiti and the Kiwi, these people, and the Girgashi, these people, I need you to wipe them out completely and everything that they own, everything. Burn up everything, destroy their pillars, destroy their altars, because they're going to try to teach you their ways. And one of the things that they were doing is they killed the innocent. That's what they did. That whole Torah portion is talking about the innocent. It's talking about you got to be able to execute judgment. So Yah's asking Israel, in order for you to understand what his goals and desires are, in order for us to get in alignment with that, you and I cannot leave the path. Now he's going to give an offer to all of us today. If you don't want to follow that path, get off the path and die. He's not forced. It's for your good that you follow Yah. If you don't like what Yah said, then you don't have to do what he says. Just die with everyone else. That's what it is. You're going to be put to death. And that's what it is. And he's not mad about it, because that is destined to happen. Okay. So is it a threat? Yes, it is. It's a promise. If you don't follow the ways of Yah, you're dead. Okay. And he needs to tell people that, because, including me, that if you get off of my path, I'm killing you, because my path is the only path that's righteous. It's the only path. And so a lot of people don't like this path. So what they do is they choose another path. And the path that we've chosen in the past is called Christianity, that allows us to do what we want to do and then expect the innocent to be put to death for the righteous. For the wicked, which Yah says is not going to happen. Well, let's get back to what we're talking about. The righteousness of Yah is one that requires a person to hunt, pursue, and chase after. Look at your life and evaluate your behavior, and look at the experiences and the people in your life, and do an inventory and ask yourself in every situation, am I hunting, pursuing, and chasing righteousness in my ordeals, in my relationships, in different things that happen, like the death that something happened with someone, or like Bess was talking about something that happened in some family, or a business transaction, or something at the store, or something with the bank, whatever. If it has to do with monetary money, everything has to be done in righteousness. It has to be done what's right. What Yah declares is right, not what we think. Last but least, do you desire? That's the kicker. Do you desire to chase after Yah? Are you in pursuit of Yah? And righteousness means to pursue something. And here's the thing that we're talking about: to pursue. The pursuit of what they call mishpat. Mishpat. That is judgment. That means the decision that Yah has already made. In the word mishpat, if you divide it up, the first part of it is who, called me. That's who in Hebrew, who. And then the last part of that is judge. Midjah, who will judge? So when you and I are given this responsibility, he's asking, who of you are going to do, and this right here is called judgment. Okay, that's judgment. Mishpat is judgment. And that is what is part of the life of a person who is in covenant with Yah. So these are not suggestions. These are requirements. There's no way that you and I could be in a relationship with Yah and execute mishpat if you and I don't have this attitude right here. You can't. You can't. Because he's focused. Renee said it. Okoti Renee said he's focused. Set your eyes upon the things of Yah. Be a kitty cat. Be a predator. Okay. I hope you guys got something from that, because I did. I learned a lot from this. What else do we have? Here we go. So when Yah says to follow his way, the path of Yah, that's what he's going to guard that path, and he's going to do what is right. Zadak, right here. You see the letters right here. The Zadi, the Dalit, and the Kov. It's called Zadakah right here. That's how it's being said. Zadakah. What is right? Okay. To do that which is in pursuit and look. And they got this word just. And again, if you take that word, what does just mean? You know, what is just? Well, for us, we was like just because, or just in English, this could be anything. Just because, just as I said, just wait a minute, you know, that kind of thing, right? That's not what we're looking for. We don't want the English word just, because it's downplaying Yah's word. It's minimizing. We don't want what's right. We forget all that. Anything in anybody's eyes can be right. Now you know what Zadakah means. It means pursuit. We also know, and it says and, because that's the wa right here, and, because you're always going to learn Hebrew, the wa is and what? Mishpat, right here, what I just told you, okay? Judgment. That's what you and I are supposed to be doing and pursuing. You see? So Abraham is the one that started all this. He's the one. And he says that you should do what is, mishpat, lama'an, so that, lama'an means that he might bring about, the havi will cause, this is causative right here, that he might cause, not just let it happen, to cause Yahweh to Abraham all he has spoken to him. And so I'm going to bring it back over to the English so we can get that. For I have made myself Yada known to him, so that he will give commandments to his children and his house hold after him, it means after, like his descendants, to keep, to guard the path of Yahweh, and to do what is Zadakah, meaning to do and pursue, hunt, chase, and pursue, right? That of judgment. You and I have to be about judgment. We have to be. We have to be. That's what you and I are required to do. I just want to show that to you. And we're going to come back here in a second. Did you see that? Any questions? We have to be about judgment. I'm going to go into the Greek writings right quick, and I'm going to show you something. This is what the Greeks told you. The first thing that he tells you, this so-called savior, okay, told you this: don't judge so that you won't be judged. You see how words play a big deal? Don't judge so that you won't be judged. And this has been the problem. That's why, if you're wondering why homosexuality and transgender and whoredom and prostitution and abuse and strikers and thieves and liars and disrespectful to parents, and you wonder why that's running rampant in the country and all over the world right now, is because of what this person told the world. Don't judge so that you won't be judged. So take your hands off of making any kind of judgments. Our teaching today is to shop Tim. Okay. So you're not in any kind of position to judge nothing. Don't shop, Tim. No judgment. Don't discern between what is right and what is wrong. Because if you take off the judge's robe, then you won't be judged. That's why people don't judge anybody anymore. That's why they never tell anybody when they're wrong. Because people don't like to be told that they're wrong. They don't want nobody to tell them nothing. He says, for the way that you judge others is how you will be judged. But I just told you, don't judge. So instead of you taking on a robe, remember, a lot of people say that, you got the wrong spirit. You got the wrong spirit. You see? See, and the measure the measure in which you measure out will be used to measure unto you. You see? And then he goes on to say, why do you see the splinter in your brother's eye, but you don't see the log in your own eye? Right? How can you say, your brother, let me take the splinter out of your eye when you have a splinter in your own eye? See? Then it gets you all juiced up. It makes you think that hey, of course, a person who's not in a position to judge should not be judging. But the fact of the matter is, he told you not to. And that's not what Yah told Abraham. Yah told Abraham that the people that you're going to be a great nation. And I'm going to tell him what I'm going to do. Okay. So let's continue. So we know how that happened. And then he said, to make a long story short, because we only have so much time, he's going on to go destroy Sodom and Gomorrah in this chapter. Okay. Well, one of the things that I wanted you to see here was when Yah said that Abraham approached, he said, will you actually sweep away the righteous with the wicked? I think that's the question that we all have. Will you do away with the righteous with the wicked? Maybe there are 50 righteous people. So he goes on about how many people are there, and are you going to destroy the righteous with the wicked? And he says, far be it from you to do such a thing. Why would you're not going to kill the righteous? Because that's what Yah plans on doing. Not killing the righteous, but he's going to kill the wicked. So that the righteous and the wicked are treated alike. They will never be treated alike. This is what Yah has told unto us through Moshe to let us know this conversation. Okay. He says, far be it from you. Shouldn't the judge of all the earth, and that's where I wanted to go to, do what is what? Just, Zedek. Do that which is mishpat. Yah is the judge of all the earth. Yah is the judge of all the earth. Okay. But yet, in spite of Yah being the judge of all the earth, has not Yah given a group of people the ability to be judges? Answer. Answer is yes. The answer is yes. Yah has given Israel judges for the purpose of executing judgment. Deuteronomy chapter number 16, verse number 18 says this. You are to appoint judges. That is what they are to do. They are to set judges and officers in all your gates in your cities. That's what they're supposed to do. And they are to judge the people with righteous judgment. We saw what righteous is. Someone who's in pursuit of that which is judgment, which Yah told Abraham. Yes, Rivka. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
We're supposed to judge the world through the Torah. I mean,
Yes.
when we say we're judges, yeah, we're judges, but we're judges according to Torah.
That's absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that out, because that is the only judgment. The only righteous judgment is Yah's judgments. That's what I'm trying to show the class. But there's people that are assigned. You are assigned to be a judge. There's judges in our community that's supposed to judge with righteous judgment. He said, you are not to show favoritism, and you're not supposed to care about what their face look like, and you're not supposed to distort that which is righteous. You're not supposed to turn from anything. You're not supposed to accept a bribe. You don't suppose, because it blinds the eyes and it twists the words of the upright. So you know a person that can actually be turned, and their thoughts can be changed by how someone looks. God wants you to use your faculties. He wants you to use your eyes. Your eyes, listen, if he tells us that if a person accepts a bribe, meaning they accept money, they can change their outcomes. He says if a person it could twist the words of even the upright. So how dangerous is a bribe? It's very dangerous. And bribes are given all the time in court. This whole chapter and everything that we're talking about this in particular week is dealing with justice, only judgment. Must you what? Look at that, you guys. What did he just tell us? That you must what? Pursue. That's what you and I should be in pursuit of.
Yeah, Akika,
Yes.
Debbie, bribe destroys the nations.
Yes.
And bribe is what's made this country, current country of New Babylon, just completely destroyed.
Yes.
In the United States, it's because of bribe.
Yes, indeed. And so I thank you for that. Now listen to this right quick. I think it's in Psalms 80. Yeah, it is in 82. Look what it says. I want you to be here. He says you must pursue it, like we just did in our teaching. So in order that was so that you will live and inherit the land that what Yahweh is giving you. That's what I wanted to let you know, is that this is part of the inheritance of the land. Rivka and I were talking yesterday, and the first thing we said is, you know what, we finally get it. Rivka, do you want to share what you thought about when it finally popped in our head? You want to share what your ideas were on that?
Yeah, it's we were talking about how it's a mindset. We were watching a movie called The Profile, and it's about how the Muslims entice these girls into, going into the I guess it's ISIS or whatever. But I understood that by watching it, that it's a mindset that when we become Hebraic, our whole mindset changes. We had a different calendar, we had a different way of life, we had a different diet. So when we go back to that, we really have to realize that it's about a people, it's about our culture.
Praise the Holy One of Israel. Anyone want to add to that?
It's like lifestyle versus religion. Remember we were talking about, David, is the difference between religion and what's real. This is real. We were a real people. We had our own calendar. We had everything. So we're not talking about, we're talking about a world system. This is on a different world. We're on a different world system right now. Hebraic, the Torah is instructions like a constitution is to the United States. The Torah is a constitution, or like the instructions to the nation of Israel. So when we talk about leaving, we have to think about it on a global arena. Remember, you were talking about, David, about all the other Israelites that are scattered all over the world. It's not Christianity that they're faced with. It might be Hinduism, or it might be Muslim, it might be, or I'm sorry, Islam, or it might be, different things, right?
Buddhist. Yep.
So that's one of the points that goes into our next part of our lesson. Okay, so just what Rivka just said. Okay, often because we're here in the United States of America, we think the only thing that people are dealing with is Christianity, trying to get our families out of Christianity, right? The Christians and the Hebristians over on this side of the globe, right, who follow this, they think that that's the only thing. They think that, well, there's nothing else that they have to worry about. They hold on to what they've been taught by their parents, right? And it came to me, I was like, yeah, why am I always fighting these people? What is it that I could bring to their attention to let them know that this is a test? This is literally a test for us. He said, have you ever thought about that other Israel scattered all over the world? So often you would think Christianity is the only vice that gets us. It's not the only one. So if Christianity is not the only religion that Israel's dealing with, wouldn't that kind of tell you off the bat that it's either Yah or Christianity, or it is Yah or it's Hindu, or it's Yah or it's Muslim, or it's Yah or whatever. So if you notice, all these other religions around us are infiltrating our people, right? And they got a hold on them. So for a person who's in Christianity to think that they're not caught up in something, that's weird if you think about it, because the Israelites in other places got to abandon Hinduism or Buddhism. They got to abandon these things. So they don't even see that Christianity has to be let go over here. It's Yah or nothing. You understand what I'm saying? It's either you're going to be with him, or you're literally going to be against what he said. There's other paths that people have put out. Christianity is just one of the other paths, just like Buddhism and Hinduism and being a Muslim, you know, and even Catholicism, all these different ways. So for us, we have to understand that Yah is literally saying, if you guys take on any other path than what I'm telling you, you're in trouble. You're literally in trouble. One of the things too that got me from the Torah portion that really stuck out real hard for me was this, is that Yah in chapter number 18, he tells us that you shouldn't be like any of the other people in all the nations that are among you, okay? One of the things that really got me was, he said here, he says, when you enter the land that Yahweh Elohim is giving, you are not to learn how to follow the abominable practices of those nations, okay? Then he says, there must not be found among you anyone who makes his son or his daughter pass through the fire, okay? That's the first thing he says, okay? So from off of this, we know that one of these abominable practices was to kill the innocent. That was to kill the innocent, to make your son or your daughter pass through the fire. Rivka, didn't you do a study on that?
Yeah, we did a study on Molech. It was a Canaanite god that they used to sacrifice their children by putting them on the hands and burn them up, and then they would put them in these pots. And I showed a picture in the ladies' class of the pots that they actually used to do and how they used to do it.
Okay, so they would burn and these were innocent children. Okay, and so what we wanted to deal with in terms of these of the son and the daughter is that he would only accept the sacrifice of that which was innocent. Somebody tell me why?
Because they're pure?
Yes, because they're pure. They're pure, and also too, they're without fault. Okay, so pure, and that means that they don't have no guilt. No guilt at all. They're innocent. Okay, so there's no guilt associated. So the guilty would say, well, let's take the innocent and let's kill the innocent to atone for our guilt. So the only way a person can take to atone for their guilt is by taking that which is innocent without guilt, to kill. Okay, so I bring this up because Yah says something that's interesting, okay, that we should look at. Now I want you to keep this in mind. Okay, I'm going to bring you to this well, not that one. I'm going to bring you to this word right here. It's going to be in 13:18, and it's called knock. Okay, right here. When Yah tells these priests and these elders to, you know, if you found a dead body, right? Say you found a dead body, like I said, they're going to measure it and find out who did it. They don't know who did it. So they had to wash their hands over that heifer and say, hey, we're guiltless. We didn't have nothing to do with this. We don't know anything about this, right? The word that they use for this, for the innocent, is called naki, okay? And naki, the root of it is called knock, okay? Knock, okay? And the action of it, and I want you to just hear me this so we can put the pieces of the picture together. This is not a religious study. This is called education, okay? The action of this word is to suckle, okay? The concrete is a breast, like a child nursing off a woman's breast, okay? And the abstract means they're innocent, okay? And how do you come up with this? Well, the noon, which is the seed right here, is what they would call a picture of a seed, and it represents sons, continuance of the next generation. The next letter, which is the kof right here, in the Q right here, kof is a picture. It's a picture of the sun at the horizon and drawing in of light. When you combine these, it means the child drawn in, like a child is being drawn into a mother's breast. When they're hungry and they're crying out. So when the child cries out, the mother picks the child up and brings him close to her breast. So the child can be able to drink the milk, because that's why the child is crying. Okay. Does it make sense? Yes, it does. Is it physical? Yes, it is. Okay. Which the Christians would call carnal. This is physical. Okay. So when you bring this child into the breast, you're bringing in and you're holding close an infant to the chest, right? Which is the breast. Okay. And it represents innocence. It's the innocent where the child suckles. It's innocent. So you know how some people take offense to a woman breastfeeding her baby in public? They don't like it, right? Because of the way that their minds think. Okay. A woman who's nursing her child is innocent. She's not bearing her breast for the sake of like these women out here today that just want somebody to look at their breasts. She's bearing her breast to her child because of the child's innocence, and she's innocent and the child's innocent, right? So this represents the innocence of the infant. And guess what? It's guiltless, it's blameless, it's clean, and it's clear of all guilt. That's why they use this word, okay? So in the example that Yah gave us in judgment, where he says, look, no innocent, for the death of the innocent, I'm not going to acquit the wicked. Okay. So ask yourself this question, and I want you to put the pieces together. I want you to put these pieces together so it all makes sense to you. I'll put it up here. Let me see here. Do a new share. All right. So what we have here is, let me see here. Let me just put it right here. All right. Oh. All right. So I don't want to put that. Let's just make it simple. I'm gonna put the Torah on this side, and I'm gonna put Christianity on the other side. Okay, or just put religion, because it's more than just Christianity, as you can see. Okay, religion. All right. So on one side you got the Torah, on the other side you got religion. The Torah says that if you kill the Yah's not going to justify the wicked if they kill the innocent. Okay, so it's a matter of. Does someone have a question? They killed the innocent. They take the life of the innocent. That's who they kill. They kill the innocent, like a child. Okay. That's what they do. They kill the innocent. Forget my writing. It's ugly. Ugh. We don't do that. What if someone killed an innocent child, like a son or a daughter, to cover their guilt? What do you see the parallel in Christianity? What's the parallel?
I guess the crucifixion of JC.
It's the cross. Because he's innocent and he's the one who's bearing the guilt on the cross. You see what I'm saying? They kill babies. And look, so instead of it saying that, okay, so instead of just saying I'm gonna kill a grown man, you can't look at it like that. They're not just saying they're killing a grown man. What they're saying is we're going to kill the innocent. What they did was they switched it from a baby now to a man. That's all it is. It's still innocent. It doesn't matter if it's a baby, and if it doesn't matter if it's a man, it's still a human being. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the God of Christianity is a God of human sacrifice. The God of the Canaanites was a God of sacrifice, of human sacrifice. The Torah does not allow for human sacrifice. Yahweh does not justify the wicked when they kill the innocent. And I'm going to show it to you. And I need you to remember it. So when someone asks you this, you can easily go there and say, he's not doing it. So 23:7, I believe.
And they made it very clear that he has no sin at all.
That
A
yes,
grown man has
he
no
says he has
sin.
none. Yeah, he has none. Even though he was born through a woman through blood, which made him impure, he had to be purified because he was born through that. Okay, but here it is. Keep away from fraud because Yah hates that. Okay, and then by the way, this is one of his judgments. By the way, this is a mishpatim. Do not cause the death of the what? Of the innocent and the righteous. I will not justify the wicked. Yah's not going to allow the wicked to go free. He's not going to justify them. Okay. Do you see that? I need everyone to see this because he's not, if Yah says that these people are killing their innocent, he just told you don't do that. Don't follow the ways of these people when you go into their lands. Yah sent us here. Why did he send us here? To serve their gods. Did he know that they were going to kill the righteous? Yes, he knew that. So when he says when you get there, you're going to serve their gods of wood and stone. When you got here, that's what you served. You served the gods that was given to us. And the God that we served is a different God than our God. Our God is not from this place. So when Christians and Hebraians that don't want to let go of the New Testament, they're serving the God of everyone else around them. You understand? So in 23:7, it says that I will not justify the death of the innocent. I'm not going to justify the person who does such a thing. If you kill the innocent and the righteous, I'm not letting you go. I'm not going to let you go. So let's go see what that word is. 23:7. Yeah, he says, and here's our word. He says, in the matter devar of the shakar, of false, keep yourself far away from, and the nake. You see that? The naki. I told you right here. This right here is the naki, the innocent, the one like a baby, the innocent, and the righteous, the ones who pursue that which is right, not just righteous from what our understanding is, but from a Hebraic standpoint, someone who's pursuing judgment. Do not kill them, because I will not what? Akazadik, I will not justify you. I will not make you right in my eyes. I will not justify the wicked. So here's what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay, just from off of this right quick. If he says he's not going to justify, or he's not going to bring righteousness to the Rasha is the wicked. So who is doing the wicked? What is Yah considering the wicked? What action did the wicked do? The wicked killed the righteous and the innocent. That's who they killed. That's the wicked person. So if you and I say we're going to take part in someone dying on a cross for us, we're wicked. When they said you got to buy into the blood, and you got to drink, you got to eat the body, you got to drink the blood, and you got to be baptized into this. And once you do that, God will receive you. Not Yah, God. The God of the New Testament will receive you. You see? So if you and I partake in that, when a person says, I believe in that, guess what they're saying? They're saying, I agree that I'm wicked, and I agree that I'm okay with the death of the innocent. I'm willing to kill the innocent. Then brings them back to the people who Yah destroyed in the first place, which was, he says, never to sacrifice your sons and your daughters because they're innocent. I will not justify the wicked for killing the righteous and the innocent. The Zadik and the Naki. The Naki right here is the child. Do you hear what he's saying to us? A lot of times you and I don't understand who the innocent is. You understand? It's a person without fault. So they moved it away from from babies. Now you're offering it on a cross to be murdered versus you usually putting it on some idol's hands. The whole world believes this, that you can kill the innocent and Yah will set you free. Yah says, I'm not going to justify the wicked. It's wicked to want to kill the righteous. It's wicked to kill the innocent. This is why Yah has given judgment to Israel. It's wicked. Any questions? Any statements? Any contributions? That's the innocent.
That was amazing explanations of what Yeshua or in the New
Yes.
Testament that I didn't quite understand till today. So thank you, Toda.
You're welcome. And Bedman, look, 6 and 16. Yah says this. There's 7 things that Yah hates. 6, but he says 7 are detestable to him. He says a haughty look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. Yah hates this. He hates the shedding of innocent blood. Everybody see that? So if he hates the shedding of innocent blood, somebody tell me why he shed the blood of an innocent man, if he hates that. Any contributions to that?
He didn't.
That's right, he didn't, because there's a different God. It's not our Elohim. That's what people don't know. The God of the New Testament is not our God. He's not our Elohim. He would never do such a thing. Okay.
Because I was always wonder, how could a father sacrifice his only son? Because I can't even comprehend, and I would never sacrifice my children. I would die for them, but never sacrifice for them.
Well,
So
yeah, you would never do
I
that.
just never understood that. Now I get it. Thank you.
And yes, and let me bring something else out. Some people say that Yah, well, he did it through Abraham. No, he didn't. He didn't sacrifice his son. Yah bring that example to bring him to that point and say, no, don't do that. Yah taught Abraham that he did not want sacrifice of a human being. He wanted a sacrifice of a ram. That's why Yah allowed that. That's why Yah accepts the animal sacrifice versus human beings. When Yah redeems Israel, he doesn't redeem them so you could give your sons. He says, with your sons are redeemed with silver. He says, when you bring the first of animals, bring the animals to me, but never kill that people. Bring the animals to me. When he redeemed Israel from Mizraim, you understand? All the animals belong to me. Israel is not part of animal sacrifice. I mean, part of human sacrifice. It's not part of sacrifice for us. We don't do that. He said, I've never taught you that. But he hates that. He hates the shedding of innocent blood. Okay. Now, I want everybody to understand it, but here's something else in Numbers 35. We're going to look at this. Numbers chapter number 35, and he just has me on this Naki, the innocent, how Yah feels about blood. You need to understand what he feels about it. Okay. All right. So, all right, here we go. All right, now here's the thing. There's 6 cities in which will serve as a refuge for people of Israel, as well as the foreigner and the resident alien living with them. So that if anyone kills someone, if you kill anyone or someone by mistake, you may flee there to that city, okay? However, if he hits him with an iron implement and causes his death, he's a murderer. Christ of the New Testament, of the Greek writing, said, if you hate your brother, you're a murderer. Well, he gets that from the fact that only time a person would murder their brother is if they had hatred. Because Yah says, if you had any hatred towards anybody and they died in your care or your custody, then you're done. You're dying. He says a murderer must be put to death. A murderer, not the innocent. Okay. If he hits him with a stone in his hand is big enough to kill someone. So you can see right here, there's regulations on how you would determine if someone hated someone and wanted to murder them. If you use the iron implement, that's automatic murder. You wanted to murder them. If you used a stone that was big enough to murder someone, right, then that would be murder. The stone had to be big enough, big enough to kill someone, not a pebble. You understand? And he dies. He's a murderer. These are Yah's judgments. The murderer must be put to death. Or if he hits him with a wood utensil in his hand capable of killing someone, and he dies, he's a murderer. The murderer must be put to death. All murderers are going to be put to death. The next of kin avenger, because that's who it is, a family member, is to put the murderer to death himself. The avenger is the one who's supposed to take this murderer and put him to death. You know, someone kills my son, I'm killing you. Okay. Someone kills your daughter, you kill them. You're the first one who puts the hands on them. But the person has a right to go flee if they're innocent. Okay. If they're innocent, they didn't do it. It's a mistake. Upon meeting him, he is to put him to death. Okay. Likewise, if he shoves him out of hatred, argument like Cain and Abel, and you shove him or intentionally throw something at him, causing his death, or out of hostility, you strike him with your hand and so he dies, the one who struck him must be put to death because you're a murderer. Because your intention behind it was out of hatred, and it was out of arguing, and it was out of hostility. So Yah's telling you and I right now, you better be careful about when you're having your conversations and how you deal with situations. You could be on the street and someone says something to you, and then you'd be like, you know, hey, you know, you getting all pumped up and angry, and then you strike them. And then that person hits the ground, hits their head on the side of the concrete. Guess what? You're dead. If you're walking past them and you bumped and they fell off the side of and there was no hostility and they hit their head and they died, that's not a murderer. You accidentally caused, it's like manslaughter. You accidentally killed them. These things can happen. You understand? So keep your hands to yourself. If you strike somebody with hostility and that person dies, you're a murderer. You got to be put to death. He is a murderer, plain and simple. Then the next of kin, family member, avenger will put that murderer to death upon meeting him. That's why he's supposed to run. And then he finds him, he kills him right there on the spot. Now doesn't have a problem with that. Okay. But suppose he shoves him suddenly without hostility. Like I just said, you're walking down by Bank of America and you accidentally bump into the person without any hostility. Say you were joking and there was no hostility. That happens, and he throws something at him unintentionally and he dies without seeing him and being his enemy or seeking to harm him. That was not your intention. He throws a big stone enough to cause him to death, that person, and the person dies. He throws a stone big enough to cause death and the person dies. You see? Then the community is to judge. So again, what we're talking about judgment. This whole time we're talking, the community has to judge this. That's the elders and people who Israel chose. And the Kohanim are the ones who settle every situation. We'll read that in a second. The community is to judge between the one who struck him and the next of kin, the avenger. The next of kin is the one who's the representative of the person who's dead. So the next of kin is going to go to court. You're going to go to court, and the people have to judge. The community is going to judge. There was judgment, a house of judgment that was set up. It wasn't everybody as an evangel. What do they call it? Vigilante, going around killing whoever they want to. No, you got to go to court. He said, in accordance with these rules, these are the rules that Yah gave. Talks about judgment. And the community is to save the killer from the next of kin avenger. That's what a community is supposed to do. The community is to return him to the city of refuge, which he fled, and he is to live there until the Kohen Hagadol, which is the high priest, who is anointed with the holy oil, dies. Okay. But if the killer goes beyond the limits of the city of refuge he fled to, the next of kin avenger finds him outside the city limits of the refuge, and the killer avenger kills him. The killer, he is not guilty. He's not guilty. If the guy who killed the person left the city that he had, the city of refuge, if he left that city to go out and flee somewhere else, and the avenger finds him outside the city limits, and avenger kills that guy or that person or whatever, he will not be guilty of man's blood. He will not be guilty. because he must stay in the city of refuge until the death of the Kohen Hagadol. But after the death of the Kohen Hagadol, the killer may return to his own land. He's free from it. You see? So these things shall constitute a standard of what? Of judgment. There's judgment in the house of Israel. There's judgment for the tribes of Israel. These things shall constitute a standard for judgment through all your generations, every last one of them, wherever you live. If anyone kills someone, the murderer is to be put to death upon the testimony of witnesses. But the testimony of only one witness, only one person's eyes, will not suffice to cause a person to be put to death. Also, you are not to accept a ransom. And this is my point I want to bring out. If someone's supposed to die for their transgressions or die because they killed someone, Yah says you are not to accept a ransom in lieu of the life of a murderer condemned to death. Isn't this what Christ did for the so-called murderer called Barabbas? Yes, he took the place of a murderer, right? So he became a ransom. Isn't that what they said? 31 says you're not to accept a ransom of a murderer condemned to death. He broke Torah. You cannot take the place, you cannot ransom the life of a murderer. Rather, he must be put to death. So did Yah break his own law by giving a ransom for those who deserve to die? See? Likewise, you're not to accept, listen to this. Likewise, you're not to accept someone who has fled to his city of refuge for a ransom. So if the guy left the city of his refuge and he says, I want to get a ransom that will allow him to return to his land before the death of Kohen, you cannot allow any money, nothing to be paid. There's nothing you can do. If someone had an ox and the ox killed someone and he never protected his ox from doing that or guarded the people from that happening, that the owner of that ox is to be put to death, and there he will be allowed to pay a ransom. He would be allowed to pay a ransom. So there's times when ransoms are paid and there's other times when it's not paid. And in this case, you can't do that. He says, in this way, you will not defile the land in which you're living. The defilement of the land is by shedding blood in the land, for the blood defiles the land. And in this land, no atonement can be made for the blood shed, and except the blood of him who shed it. Listen very carefully. In this way, you will not defile the land. You defile the land if you took a ransom. You defile the land if you took a ransom for somebody who is a murderer who deserved to be put to death. Okay? For the blood defiles the land. And in this land, not the land, in this land, in Yah's land, Yahweh's land, in this land, no atonement can be made for the blood shed in it, except the blood of him who shed it. Akibes, you kill me, you got to die. Your blood is the blood that's required, not some other innocent person's blood. Your blood is required. You understand? So no, you are not to defile the land in which you live, in which I live. Now, we got this conversation of people saying that Elohim is with us and that he lives with us. And if that's the case, then why is all this blood being shed in this land that we're in right now? The land is defiled. The land is defiled in which you live. And guess what? Yah says, I live with you. I live, for I, Yah, will live among the people of Israel in the land. Yah lives in his land. He doesn't live anywhere else. He lives in the place in the Makom that he chose. But you got these people out here that are saying that he lives with us wherever we are. That's a lie. Yah lives in that land. And because that land, and this is the reason why he put us out of the land, is because we defiled it. With what? Somebody tell me. What did we defile the land with, according to everything that we just been reading? Just take a guess. Anybody want to tell me? No class participants, huh?
Idolatry.
We defiled the land. We defiled the land by shedding innocent blood in the land. This is the reason why Yah put Israel out of the land, is because they shed blood. They spilled so much blood in the land that there was nothing that Yah was so disgusted by what we did, because all the blood that was shed in it. Let me see. I'm trying to find out the place you already abandoned me and offended me. Let's see here. I think it's in 19. To continue the ruling of the Torah. It was the third. Secretly. Okay. I sure thought I had it. All right. I know what I'm thinking, but this might not be in this one. It might be in first or second. Yeah, I think it's in Second Kings. Yeah. Anybody have anything to add to what I'm saying?
Yeah, what innocent blood did Israel shed? I know the idolatry and breaking, not holding up the mitzvahs, but I don't recall any innocent blood being shed.
Okay, that's what that's exactly the scripture that I was looking for right now, to show you. Okay, there it is. I got you. 24. It's in second. I was right. It's in Second Kings. You know, it's hard when you got the the internet one up versus the one that you have in your book, right? So we're going to go to Second Kings, and I'm going to answer that question. That's an excellent question, Aki. So let's go to Second Kings right quick, and we'll find out. And it's in chapter number 24. Okay, and it's a great chapter, and it says this, and listen carefully. It says that it was in Jehoiakim's time that Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel, had invaded. Jehoiakim became his vassal for 3 years, but then he turned back. Am I in chapter 20? Yeah. He turned back against him and rebelled. So Jehoiakim rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar. Okay. Yah was sent against him, raiding parties from Kasdim, Aram, Moab, and people of Ammon. And he sent against him Yehudah to destroy it, right? Sent them against Yehudah to destroy it, in keeping with the word with the word of Yahweh, which he had spoken through his servants, the prophets. Yes, it was at Yahweh's order that this happened to Yehudah, okay? In order to remove them from his sight because of the sins of Manasseh and all that he had done. And also because of the innocent blood he had shed, for he flooded Yerushalayim with innocent blood. And here's what I'm about to tell you. And Yahweh was unwilling to forgive. Yahweh is unwilling, everyone. He's unwilling to forgive the shedding of innocent blood. He's unwilling. I need all of us to understand this. Yah is not willing. He's unwilling to forgive, because innocent blood is something that he will not forgive. Yah will not forgive anyone who sheds the blood of the innocent. So if Yah doesn't forgive the shedding of innocent blood, then how is it all of a sudden now that he has shedded innocent blood and all the world is forgiven? See, this happens because we don't, our people don't like to read. They don't like to read. You guys have any response to that?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Since in the United States alone, not including other countries, have killed over 55 million innocent African American babies since 1970. 55 million innocent babies are aborted. And it's been so long. So I guess, so since in this verse you said he's unwilling to forgive, the country. So I guess this whole country is in judgment. But so when is that going to happen then? I mean, we're
Very-
talking not 55 million babies.
I know. There's a certain amount of but here's the thing: the reason why it's happened, Samaya, and the reason why the world is about to experience the judgment of the Holy One, which we're talking about his judgment, is because Israel has failed to do their job. Okay, if we would have done what Yah has said, there wouldn't have been none of this. Okay, a lot of people say, "Oh no, this is supposed to happen." No, Yah has always said, I thought good for you. Why did you do this? Why did you guys turn out to be this way? You and I are the ones who've changed. We've changed the seasons. We've actually changed the rules of nature. And a lot of people don't know that. We're the ones who change things. So as we go through, that's how important Israel is to the world. Israel is the centerpiece of the whole entire world. If Israel doesn't turn back to Yah, then the world is done. Because the world was created for Israel. It was created for Israel to rule. Okay. Israel is supposed to be a chief of nations. They don't supposed to be, being ruled and controlled by a whole bunch of people. They're supposed to be ruled only by Yah, and they're the ones who Yah has chosen for them to be the chief among the nations. And I'll show that to you. Okay. It's in chapter number 31. But there is coming a time, we're going to read what's going to happen, because you asked the question, well, when is this going to happen? I'm going to show that to you too in 30. Okay. He says, when that time comes, Yahweh will be the Elohim of all the clans of Israel. And he tells us what time. And that's in chapter number 30. We'll get there. And they will be my people, says Yahweh. Here's what Yahweh says. The people escaping the sword have found favor in the desert. I have brought Israel to its rest. And from a distance, right? Yahweh appeared to me and he's saying, I love you. I love you with an everlasting love. This is why, because Yah loves us. This is why, with an everlasting love. Everlasting, not when I go to the New Testament, okay? When I love you, and I love you with an everlasting love. This is why in my grace, I draw you to me, okay? Once again, I will build you. You will be rebuilt, Virgin of Israel, once again, equipped with your own tambourine. So you're going to start dancing and stuff. You will go out with dance and merrymakers. Once again, you will plant your vineyards on the hills of Shamaron, and those doing the planting will have the use of its fruit. This is all carnal. For a day will come when the watchmen of Ephraim will call and say, come, let's go up to Zion, to Yahweh our Elohim. That's what they're going to say. For here's what Yahweh says. Sing with joy for Yaakov. Sing, shout for the chief of nations. You understand? We are the chief of the nations. Yaakov is the chief of the nations. He wants you to proclaim your praise and say, Yahweh, you have saved your people, the remnant of Yisrael. Look, I am bringing them from the land of the north and gathering from the far ends of the earth. Among them are a couple of different people. There's the blind, there's the lame, there's women with children, there's women in labor. They're all together, one vast throng returning here. They're all coming. They come weeping and praying as I bring them back. I will lead them by the streams of water on smooth paths so that they won't stumble. For I am a father to Yisrael, and Ephraim is my firstborn son. Nations, guess what nations are going to do? Nations are going to hear the word of Yahweh. Nations, hear the word of Yahweh. Proclaim it in the coastlands far away. We want you to say something. This is what you need to say. He who scattered Israel is gathering him, guarding him like a shepherd his flock. For Yahweh has ransomed Yaakov, and he's redeemed him from the hands that were too strong for him. Oh, they will come and they will sing on the heights of Zion, and they're streaming to the goodness of their master. Guess what they're going to stream to? All the carnal stuff that all the people tell you. The Christians say, oh, you're carnal. It's all carnal. Here's your carnal grain. Here's your carnal wine. Here's your carnal olive oil. Here it is. And the young flocks and herd, those are carnal too, but that's what you're going to stream to. Okay. They themselves, who? Israel, will be like what? They will be like a well-watered garden, never to languish again. Then the virgin will dance for joy, and the young men and the old men together. They're going to, which is called carnality. And for I will turn their mourning into joy, and I will comfort and gladden them after their sorrow. Okay. Then I'm also going to give the Kohanim their rich food of my people and satisfied with my bounty, says Yahweh. You understand? We're going to be coming back to Yah. But Yah's going to do something prior to that. Because he says the time is coming. Well, guess what kind of time has to happen before that? It's what you said, Samiyah. So I'm going to read it to you. And we're going to read it to everyone so we can understand what's coming. This is what's coming. The word of Yahweh came to Yeremiyahu. Okay, the word came to Yeremiyahu from Yahweh, excuse me. This is what Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, says. Remember, Yah says, if a prophet comes in my name and it comes to pass, you can trust that prophet. There's other prophets who come and say stuff that never happens. Don't listen to him. He got to be put to death. And then there's a prophet who doesn't come in my name, that doesn't mention my name, not whatsoever. I'm only sending that prophet to test you. Okay. So write all these words I have spoken to you in a scroll. That's what I want you to do, Yeremiyahu. For the day is coming, says Yahweh, when I will reverse the exile of my people, Israel and Yehuda. Number 1 and number 2. Okay, not just one, all of them, both. Says Yahweh, I will cause them to return to the land I gave to their ancestors. They will take possession of it. And guess what? That land is physical. Okay, these are the words Yahweh spoke concerning Israel and Yehuda. So let's hear them, because he told them to write them in a scroll. Here's what Yahweh says. That's how you know that you can trust it, because it always has Yahweh's signature on it. Nothing in the New Testament has Yahweh's name ever. They never say Yahweh says, ever. We had heard a cry of terror. What? Yeah, we heard a cry of terror, of fear, and not of peace. This is what we're hearing. Ask now and see. Can men give birth to children? Answer to that is no. Why then do I see all men with their hands on their stomachs like women in labor, with every face turned pale? He's giving us a description about a day that's coming, because they heard a cry of terror. It's going to be a day where men are going to be holding their stomachs like a woman. Their faces are going to be turning green, not pale, green. That word pale right here is not pale. It's green, greenish, like they're going to vomit. Okay. How dreadful that day will be. That's the day. That day is dreadful. This day, when these people see it, they're going to turn vomit green. That's what's going to happen. They're going to go green on us. Okay. Green. They're vomiting. Okay. Because they're that scared. Okay. There has never been one like it. Never. This time has never happened. It's a time of trouble for Yaakov. It's because of him. It's because of Yaakov that this day is here. Okay. But out of what? Out of this dread, he will be saved. Out of this dreadful day. Because that's what we're talking about. Keep this in your mind. It's a dreadful day. It's a day where people are vomiting, sick, like they're having a baby. And on that day, the day of dread, says Yahweh Zavaoth. He uses his name Yahweh Zavaoth here because Zavaoth means of heaven's armies. So when he implores this name right here, he's talking about an army. That's when he's in battle. Anytime he says Yahweh, yes?
Excuse me. What chapter is this?
This is Jeremiah chapter number 30, verse number 8.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, praise the Holy One of Israel. Anytime you guys see Yahweh Zavaoth, it means Yahweh's army, of the armies of heaven, of the armies. So he's in attack mode. When he says Yahweh, because guess what up here he says, this is what Yahweh says. Right? What Yahweh says, Yahweh, 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 right? Then he turns around and says, this is what Yahweh says, Yahweh Zavaoth. Zavaoth of heaven's armies. I will break his yoke from off your neck. Whose yoke? The ones who put you in chains. I will snap your chains. Foreigners will no longer enslave him. Okay, so this is what's going to go down on this day. So if Israel right now thinks that they're saved and they think that they don't have chains on their neck, they're confused. We have chains on our neck. He said, I'm going to snap your chains. The reason why, look, we got chains that we're not even aware of, meaning like we're financially chained, we're economically chained, we're socially chained. Right now, you see it with the mask and everything, the mandates, all this kind of stuff is happening. People are saying all this, the book of Revelation, the seals are released. No, they're not. Yah is saying that Israel's been enchained. We've been ensnared and we've been chained by these people. He said, instead of, right, so you're held captive. Instead, they will serve Yahweh. Israel's not going to serve their foreigners anymore. Of all the nations all over the world, you will no longer enslave him. Israel's still enslaved. Now, remember, it began when I write this in a scroll, because I'm going to reverse the exile of my people. Instead, they who, Israel and Yehuda, they will serve Yahweh, their Elohim, and Dawid, their king. There's a guy named Dawid who's going to be the king over Israel. Is one of Dawid's descendants, whom I will raise up for them. I'm going to raise him up, not through the death at the cross and then go in the grave and raise him up, because if that's the case, and why he's risen, but yet Israel is still in chains. Israel's still exiled. So you can see right here that that doesn't follow. There is a descendant from David I'm going to raise up, whom I will raise up for them, Dawid their king. So Yaakov, don't be afraid, Yaakov. So now Yah's talking to me and you right now, my servant, because we're his servant. He's saying, don't be afraid. I need you to remember this, because when this day comes, everyone else is going to be holding their stomach, looking like they're going to vomit. It's going to be dreadful. This day is not a day of, hey, let's talk, let's negotiate. It's over. It's over. But he's telling you and I, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid, Yaakov, my servant, says Yahweh, or don't be alarmed, Israel. So again, Kel, you see, he uses Yaakov to tell him about the man in Israel, the one who overcame with him. He's letting you know, you're right, you're a human one, and then the one that I've empowered. Do not be afraid, do not be alarmed, for I will return you from far away, and your offspring from all their country of exile, from their country. So there's all different types of countries of exile that we've been to. Yaakov will again be quiet and rest with no one to make him afraid. Yaakov, which is Israel, okay? He uses Yaakov's name here is because Yaakov was afraid of his brother and he was enslaved, and then Yah released him. Then when he came out, he was afraid because of the day that he met his brother Esau, he was afraid. So he got scared and he went and he wrestled. And then when he wrestled, and he had overcome with the Malach, Yah had named him Israel. You and I will never become Israel until we get past our fear. Listen to me carefully. Our father was named Yaakov Israel after he got released. Then he was afraid that his brother was coming. That's the reason why he went over to the other side to go put his head down. He was afraid. And while he was there that night, that's when he wrestled, and that's when he got named Yisrael, because he was afraid. Yah saying, don't be afraid. Don't be alarmed at what's coming, because it's coming. Okay. I will return you from far away, and your offspring, all his offspring from their country of exile. Yaakov again will be quiet and at rest with no one to make him afraid. For meaning the foreigners, for I am with you to save you, says Yahweh. I'm with you. No one else is with you. I'm with you. That's why I don't want you to be afraid. I'm going to save you. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to finish off all the nations where you've been scattered. I'm going to finish off all the nations where I've scattered you. I'm killing every last one of them. I'm putting an end to them. However, you, I will not finish off. I ain't going to finish you off, but I'm going to discipline you only as you deserve. So you're only going to get what you deserve with me. Okay. So trust that. I will not completely destroy you, but I will destroy, but I'm not going to completely. That's why he calls the remnant of Israel, because he's going to kill a lot of his people. I'm not going to completely destroy you. Not all of you. I'm not going to completely, I'm going to destroy, but I'm not going to completely destroy. For here's what Yahweh says. Your wound is past healing, and your injury is most severe. No one thinks your wound can be bandaged. No, you have no medicines that can heal you. And what he's saying here is that there has been no one who's been able to help bandage your wound that you received from me. No one has given you any medicines. There has not been any salvation for you. There's been no healing of your wounds. No one's healed you. No one. Your Savior that you thought, the God of the wood and stone, Christ, you've been calling on him and never been released out of your slavery, have you? The whole time you've been calling on him almost said something, like we've been calling on somebody like we're just dumb and bah, 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 crying out. And Yah says he's never heard you. No one's helped you. There's been no country that's ever come to your aid. There's been no senator, no representative, no one has ever helped you. The UN hasn't helped you. The League of Nations hasn't helped you. All your friends have forgotten you. Yeah, they remember you when you were something, but now they all forgot about you. They no longer seek you out. I have struck you down as an enemy would. I have punished you as a cruel man would because of your great wickedness, because of your many sins. You see, it's not because you've been innocent, it's because you've been guilty and you've been wicked. You've been doing things, you've killed the innocent, okay? Why cry that your womb? Oh, by the way, Akib Best, when it mentioned Monashe shedding that innocent blood, it's not only that he shed that innocent blood, but the people, when you follow your king and your king was doing sacrifices, he's made his kids to pass through the fire, by the way, and everyone else. And when he did it, the people followed. So the ruler, if the ruler's doing it, the people feel like it's okay to do it too, because he's the example. That's why Yah says, be careful who you pick as your leaders. So he asked the question, but all who devour you will be devoured. That's why I'm saying I'm putting an end to them. All your enemies will go into exile, and those who plunder you will be plundered, and those who pillage you will be pillaged. I will restore your health. This is a promise, which a lot of people don't like because it deals with what they call carnal. Is the physical body is going to be restored. I will heal you of all your wounds. Your wounds have been through social, economic, and your food and your diet and everything, because they called you an outcast, Zion, with no one who cares about her. Thus saith Yahweh, I will return Yaakov's captive to their tents. You guys, and to return means to shuv, and shuv means to return someone who is a captive. Now that you're a captive, you go take off your clothes of captivity. You're going to put on your clothes of that you normally had. Like when you get out of jail, when you go to jail, they give you a whole bunch of different clothes. Then when you get out of jail, you get your own clothes back on, and then they let you loose. Okay. I will take pity on your dwellings. Okay. Your cities will be rebuilt, and those are carnal. They're carnal. They're physical. Because, you know, I keep using that word carnal because your Christians and your Hebraians say that Yah is not in the carnal. He doesn't believe in physical things. But Yah says, I'm going to rebuild your cities on their own tails, their own mountains, and your palaces where they used to be. So everything that you lost, I'm about to give it back to you. And from there, and from them will come Thanksgiving and the sound of people celebrating. It's going to be a big party when I bring you back. I will increase them. Yeah, through what? How are Yah going to increase us? He's going to increase you through sexual activity, which is carnal. That's how it's happened. Baby making is going to happen through increasing them through babies, not a spirit hovering over everybody and you getting some wings. They will not be decreased. I will honor them. The only reason why he'll honor us and increase our number, that's Yah's way of him honoring us, is by giving us children and by giving us land and by giving us food to feed our children. They will not be despised. Their children will be as they used to be. Their community will be confirmed in my presence, and I will punish everyone who oppresses them. Yes. So is this going to happen? Yes. Is he going to punish anybody to messes with us? Yes. So is people still going to try some stuff? Yes. But what's their leader? Guess what their leader is going to be? Their leader is going to be one of their own. Their ruler will come from among them. Oh, really? Where did they just come from? Oh, they just came from exile. So where's David at? Where's this descendant of David? The descendant of David is with the people of Israel. Right now. He's with you right now. He will be raised up from among them, the exiles, and I will cause him to come close and let him approach me. Otherwise, who would guarantee his heart enough to approach me, says Yahweh. This in particular descendant of David cannot approach Yah unless Yah tells him that he can. Because no one can do this except for the one that Yah has said who would approach him. Yah will allow him. Yah says, I will cause him to come close to me and approach me. Where? Because he's been one who has been one of their own, and he's from among them, because he came out of exile. And His heart will be guaranteed because Yah gave him a heart. Not that he did it himself. Yah guaranteed his heart. You understand? Otherwise, who could do this? How can he come close to me unless I'm the one who allowed him to approach me? Just no one can approach Yah. You will be my people and I will be your Elohim. Look, the storm of Yahweh is bursting and bursting out in fury. Sister Samiyah. Yeah, there's a storm coming as you suggested because of all the death of the innocent. Because Yah is not going to allow that not to happen. The storm of Yahweh is bursting. It's out in fury. It's a sweeping storm. It's whirling down on the heads of the wicked. Yahweh's fierce anger will not abate until he accomplishes the purpose in his heart. And guess what day it is? I told you, I'm going to answer that in a sec, Aki. Remember I told you the word earlier today that I couldn't find? It's called a car. Remember he told Abraham that you would teach your children after him a car? Akarith Hamayim is in the last days. You and I are these people. You will understand. And that's why you're getting it today. Because we're in the Akarith Hamayim. We're in the time after our Father that you and I understand this. That's when you'll understand it. Yes, Aki.
When Samia was saying the 50,000 babies since the 70s were being murdered.
55 million.
Okay,
It's 55.
I'm sorry. 55 million. But I fail to see how is that the government how is that the government's responsibility? Wouldn't that be Israel's responsibility? Didn't we do that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, no, you're right. You're right in that say, but it's okay. So for example, when we look at cause and effect, right? So they put in practices or policies that allow this, right? And you got to ask yourself the question, everything that Israel learned or has learned has been about from the nations, right? So that's one of the consequences of our exile. It's like, you're going to pick up the ways of the nations. Not only are you going to do the things that they do, but you're going to learn their ways. And so abortion is the sacrifice of your child, and it's just in a different way. It may not be taking Moloch and heating it up and taking the innocent and killing it, but taking any innocent life of a child is murder. And so that's just another form of murder, right? And you asked the question, how is the government responsible for that if it's Israel who's doing it? Well, the government is the one who put the practices in place. Now, if you look in all the communities of the African Americans, they're the places, and it's been, I forgot the name of the woman who was responsible for it, but she set up these places, these Planned Parenthoods, to do what they call that, the infanticide, what's her name? I forgot the author, the founder of Planned Parenthood, but the whole reason why she set up the Planned Parenthood was to kill Israel's children. That's why she said.
And Margaret, that's who you look at.
Yes. Sanger, what's her name? Margaret Sanger?
Yes.
Yes, Margaret Sanger. She set up the Planned Parenthood with to commit what they call genocide or infanticide, for us to kill our children. So they put these places in there, right? So they know how prolific we are. They know how Israel likes to be sexual, because Israel likes to have babies. Just like when we were in Egypt, we were just increasing the numbers. That's one of the blessings that Yah gave us. We love to do that. And so we create more children more than anyone else. Because of the economic restraints and us not having our own land and all these sorts of things, it kind of put the pressure on us to do those things. Like they said, hey, you can't have another baby, because if you do, then you guys are not going to be able to feed yourselves. And so they put all these things in place. They do have a responsibility, though. I do agree with you that it was their choice, but the choice was made easy for them. When it's easy to kill, and it's one of the practices of the nations around you. That's what the point is like, if you guys follow these ways, you guys are going to do some stuff that you never were supposed to do. So yeah, they do bear responsibility for that, but the nations are the ones who help perpetuate it. They're the ones who help assist in that. So both parties are responsible for that. They are. Both parties. Israel's definitely responsible, because Yah has shown us that anybody that sheds innocent blood with the intent of doing that, they're done. He's not forgiving that. He's not forgiving that. Not forgiving shedding innocent blood. And that's just something what it is. He's not he won't forgive it. No matter what nobody tells you, he's not forgiving that. He's not. He never has. He hates it. He hates the shedding of it. So that's a tough one. A lot of people are like, hey, so let's say Bill Gates in the board of plant. Yep. Bill Gates he was the father was on the board of the Planned Parenthood. It's all a plan to get rid of Israel. That's what the plan is. Okay. Great question, Oaki. It's 12 o'clock. I'm not going to hold you guys up any longer. I hope that you were able to get something out of this lesson today. It was pretty intense, for us to find out how Yah feels about the shedding of innocent blood. Yah does intend on coming and reversing Israel's exile. There is coming a day where Yah is bringing judgment. And like you said, for all that we have done, he's going to judge the earth with fire. That's what he's going to do. He's judging the earth with fire. Everybody's getting judged. No one's escaping. Abraham said that Yah was the judge of all the earth. And he's not going to let the righteous be judged among the wicked. The righteous, as we discussed today, are the ones who are pursuing Yah's ways and his judgments. Okay. That's what it is. We're in pursuit of that. Okay. Not unlike Christianity, if I killed someone, right? Say I killed someone and I murdered someone, I'm done. That's what it is. You're done. You're done. You're done. Okay. Unless what? Unless you decide, listen, say you killed someone like David did. David had someone murdered. David had someone murdered. It was planned. He had a planned hit and he made it happen, right? And he did it, and he sinned against the Holy One of Israel, and Yah forgave him. And you know what David said? If you forgive me, what I will do? What will I do? If you forgive me, don't take your spirit away from me. What will I do? I will teach the wicked your ways. I would never do that again. You understand? So Yah's merciful, but you got to call out to him. Okay. 66:15 says this. For look, Yahweh will come in fire. His chariots will be like a whirlwind to render his anger furiously, his rebuke with blazing fire. And the reason why he's coming in this way is because for only one reason. Yahweh will judge all humanity. Judgment for Yah is coming in this way, in fire, in a whirlwind, with anger. And he's judging all humanity with fire, with the sword, and with those slain by Yahweh will be many. You understand? So that's the lesson today. Understand that he is coming and he will judge the nations and he will completely put an end to them. He will send them to exile. He will destroy them in every possible way that he can and destroy their power. But a lot of people, there will be survivors. If you continue to read in that chapter, you'll find out that there will be some survivors. But Yah has to rid the world of its transgressions against him. That's what he has to do. And that's what he plans on doing. So for us, what we need to do is follow the laws, the statutes, and the commandments and understand that the Elohim that we serve requires this of us. This is not optional. This is who we are. And we have to understand it. And if we don't, say you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. But if you are going to do it, understand the way you got to do it. You got to fear Yah. So either way, you could be the person who's being protected, or you could be the person who's in opposition to the Holy One of Israel. Doesn't matter. He just doesn't matter to him because he's the king. So he knows who's going to serve him, and he knows who's wicked, and he knows who's righteous. There are wicked people, and the wicked people are people around us, and understand that. And so here's the thing. When you see this storm, and when you see this fire, if we're so blessed to see it, and we don't pass away before we get to see it, understand that when Yah does what he does, he's doing it because it's righteous. When you see it, if you get a chance to see this, understand that everything that Yah does is righteous. Everything he's ever done to Israel has been righteous. Scattering us has been righteous. Disciplining us has been righteous. Watching us hang from trees have been righteous. Watching us be smashed economically has been righteous. Because the deeds that we have done, literally, just almost, it's because of his mercy. He said, I'm not coming back because any good that you've done. We don't deserve Yah. We don't deserve them. Our ancestors caused this. And he's telling us to think about what they've done, turn back to me, and reconsider what's going on. And that's what you guys are doing. And that's what I'm doing. We're reconsidering. We're thinking about it. We're pondering it. And so there's improvement in that area. Great. Is y'all saying, hey, you guys are going to be perfect? No, you guys don't have everything you need. But what you do need to have, what does need to be perfect about you, okay? And I want you to hear me, because I'm not saying you don't make mistakes. You can actually be a person who make mistakes, but you could be perfect hearted towards Yah. You could be like, I'm with you 100%. And Yah says, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't have the resources, but I'm with you. I don't believe in killing the innocent. I'm with you. If you say if the wicked need to be killed by you, I understand. You said you killed the women and those children and those men and all them animals. I'm not gonna have a problem with that. Because obviously what you've done is right. Yah never does anything wrong. That's what Job says. That's where it says all through the Tanakh. Yah has never done anything wrong and never will. And we have to trust that and we have to depend on that. So with that being said, to you today, I say, Baruch atah Yahweh. Let me see, put it up here for us. I'm gonna say Baruch atah Yahweh. Come on, where are you? Here you are. Baruch atah Yahweh, Eloheinu melech haolam, Yarsor or uvorei kol shech, Yosei shalom, uvorei et hakol. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim. You're the King of the world. He's forming the light and he's creating darkness, and he's making peace and he's creating all things. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All right, folks. Any questions? Any statements?
I do, but it could be off the record.
Yes, sure. If it's off the record,
then,
turn
yeah.
this off right quick. Hold on.
I mean, it could